afternoon. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled DSS meeting to order. Just a reminder to those in attendance, those among the board to silence your cell phone. I'll ask our director to lead us in the invocation. Amen. I'll ask the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, if you'll take a moment to make yourself aware of the ethics and conflict of interest reminder. Being aware of this, are there any potential ethics or conflict of interest? Not. Hearing none, I'll move on to item 6 on the agenda and entertain any additions to the agenda. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by usual sign. Item number 8 is approval of the minutes. Having time to review the May 2nd, 2022 minutes. I'll entertain a motion that we accept those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by usual sign. And with that, we'll move to item number 9, our director's update. We'll invite Miss Wendy Boone to come and give us her update. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Once again, a very busy month for us. Just want to kind of give you some things that we've been involved in. I have attended the annual directors meeting in Blowing Rock. That was 2 days. It was very helpful. Once again, meeting other directors, hearing updates from the state, just making those connections moving forward. On the 9th of May, we met with Pam Graham, our LBL. Tammy and I met with her to look at our 411 budget report and really just kind of dove into each area, looking at, are we maximizing our dollars here? Could we do more here? That kind of thing. And we've set that up to meet monthly with her to make sure that we're really capturing all we can. We did have our multidisciplinary team meeting in May and our law enforcement meeting in May. That was May 15th. We also, I participated in the Mitchell County Transportation meeting, which I found that very informative. A lot of good discussion on like the timeline and all that's been happening with that. It was really nice part of that. On the 25th, we met with, Sean and I met with our CPS state consultant to review those. Here again, hearing very positive feedback on how things are going. So I'm pretty proud of our folks and what they're doing. On the 28th of May, we held our Foster Parent Appreciation Day, and Brandon and his family were part of this. We had probably around 50-ish to attend. It was very nice.
We had a great water balloon fight. So. Or toss or whatever we call it. There was quite a few adults that got wet.
It was nice once again for our foster parents to meet and connections and have family time together. I wanted to ask you, well, I wanted to invite you, if you so choose, to participate in our staff appreciation lunch. And this is going to be on the 17th of June. And we'll do kind of our awards, for the service and that sort of thing. But 17th at lunch.
No.
I was going to say it's lunch. So we are going to do that on the 17th. Sean and I participated in the guardianship training, which was very informative. And then I also participated in the Western County Directors meeting last Thursday and Friday. Just so many updates, so many things coming down, Medicaid changes, food and nutrition, a lot of things happening with that right now. So we're really trying to keep us in the loop, make sure we're all informed. As far as our unit updates, we did complete a food and nutrition audit, a USDA audit, and we're awaiting our formal results. However, I did participate in the post-conference of that, and we did very well with that. Proud of all the hard work my folks are doing. The child support audit went very well also. We were at 100% in compliance there. And I did meet with their IRS, their state consultant for the IRS came and she did an audit back on the 10th of May. And we passed that with no findings. This is just making sure Tammy's keeping all of that information confidential and she's following all that process. So we're at 100% with her. And we did recently hire a Medicaid supervisor. And I wanted to introduce her to you and have her come speak just a little bit and share a little bit about her. And then we'll let Sean give our updates for Cynthia.
My name's Michelle Hobson, and
Well, you're not new.
I know. I'm not new. I was recently hired as Medicaid supervisor. I originally come to the county, working in the reception area. Come to income maintenance, which houses food nutrition in 2011. So I've got quite a bit of experience with Medicaid over the years, trying to keep up with all the changes. So I'm looking forward to working with you. Starting to see some email correspondence that maybe we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel about possible. So I don't know exactly if it's date, and they're trying to prepare counties to begin developing strategies on how. So we've got a lot of changes. Dedicated people. So
You mentioned that PHE lift. Is that where is it the state kind of once you were qualified, they didn't go back and
Yes.
visit that the whole?
yes, so
COVID
it's a
thing.
medical continued. So due to the pandemic, in Medicaid cases and the extension, we have not been allowed to terminate or reduce the Medicaid.
And they keep saying they're gonna end that at some point, but they haven't told y'all
There's
anything.
not a official date. So we're starting to see numerous emails coming from this past week. So, just trying to get us to do these research. So it's gonna be quite a bit, and it's projected to increase 6 months workload.
All right.
Yes, and that's happening around the same time, so the way it's looking, but I'm excited, and it's gonna be a lot of changes for unit trying to keep up with, so we'll take that information.
Congratulations. Very
Congratulations.
well deserved. And I've run in these past years that I've seen on this board. I've worked with
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Start with CPS. We haven't had a huge amount of changes. We're sitting at 32 for technically in May. We did have 3 kids adopted on June 2nd, so that 32 didn't include those 3 siblings that were adopted on the 2nd, but for our main numbers, we had 32. We had one kid come into custody in May. That child was placed with kinship, which kind of, if you look down at the kids out of county, we went up by one kid out of county, went from 22 kids out of county to 23 out of county. That kinship placement was out of county. So the benefit of having the child with kinship versus in the county outweighed, going ahead and placing the child with a kinship. One other major change that we had is that one of our foster homes, they had transferred in from another county, so they weren't physically in Mitchell County, but they were one of our homes under our license. They came to us. They were wanting to adopt. They had kind of a narrow scope of the age and child that they were looking for. And over the last year, that child did not come in, and so they've decided not to continue to foster under. So their license ended. For intake, we had 14 calls come in May. 8 of those ended up in assessments or investigations. We had 9 investigations at the end of the month going on in May. We had three families in-home services at the end of May. That kind of helped with APS numbers. Is we took that same kind of our same outline that we were doing for CPS and did it for APS as well. So right there kind of helps, allows us to track that and see those numbers in a broader sense. We had a decrease in the number of calls that came in. We still worked a total of 5 cases between leftover ones from April and the new ones that came in May. We still worked 5 cases in May. We had 4 cases in what they say plan and mobilization is basically case management services for those clients. Our biggest jump, we didn't really see any other jump, but between April and May in guardianship, we've increased by 5. So we're up to now 14 individuals in guardianship, which if you look at the most time consuming, the most involved, and sometimes, well, like they were difficult in different ways. That's kind of where, there's a lot of moving pieces with guardianship, especially when we are general guardian, which means we're also a guardian of the estate, which means as a county, as DSS in the county, we absorb the responsibility for that entire estate, including their property and things like that. And so as part of that guardianship training that we went through, there's some additional things that we have to come up with. There's some additional expenses that we're going to have to look at, and how do we mitigate those expenses? And also doing the hard job of, we're going to have to look at how do we liquidate some of the assets. And that's the difficult thing when someone, you've taken them as guardianship, but you also have their home. And now you're looking at having to sell their home in order to take care of them as a county.
And you're talking about folks that are in like an assisted living facility.
Right, so they're in our custody as guardians. We've had to place them in some type of facility, and they're no longer able to live on their own, but yet they have property. And sometimes their monthly income doesn't meet their monthly expenses, which means as a county, we're subsidizing that. So to offset that cost, we're looking at having to now go sell that property in order to not allow that expense to fall back on the county and the taxpayers. And so that's going to be the biggest role that we have, is because as a county, we've really never done that in recent years. There's been times in several years ago in which we were involved with something like that, but nothing in recent years. So that's our next big step, is how do we do that? What kind of policy do we need in place to do that? And then as a county moving forward from the DSS board, what's that look like? And how do we ensure that we're doing that above board and making sure that no one, anybody can make allegations that you're not doing it fairly, but we want to do everything we can to make it as if that they're, we're not manipulating anything, we're not doing anybody any favors when we're trying to sell off these assets to in order to care for those
Is there a
individuals.
process for you guys as far as?
Yeah, so, yeah,
Kind of work your way back.
yes. So, some of them do come in with some, some savings. But those savings go really quick when you're looking at multi-$1,000s a month in cost and care. And a lot of our folks don't have huge bank accounts. They might come in with $10,000, but you're going to blow through that $10,000 in probably 2 months. And so where their wealth is, in a sense, is usually in their property, in their homes.
Sean, is that process overseen by North Carolina Medicaid? Or is that, am I on a different wavelength here?
Probably on different, obviously some of these individuals have Medicaid. And
These are the people you're guardians over, correct?
Correct.
Some would have Medicaid, some would not.
Yeah, some of them do not have the long-term Medicaid or don't qualify for the long-term Medicaid. Also, when we start looking at reducing assets, selling off assets, they can get penalized in the Medicaid, which means they may lose their Medicaid because they have a transfer of assets in this process. Unfortunately, the federal government doesn't recognize a county who has, in a sense, custody of an adult any different than a family member that has that responsibility. They look at it as a transfer of assets. And so when we start doing this, there's just multiple layers on this, and it's something that it's going to be very involved, and we're trying to go, how do we do this? Have the right people at the table to formulate our process, but also how do we reduce the greatest impact on the county? Obviously, one is meet the needs of our client and reduce the amount of impact on the financial on the county in doing that. So, that's going to be a huge undertaking, just trying to get what is our process.
When you do guardianship, are all those folks, do any of them get to stay at home while you're over there where most of them?
It's difficult. It's not an absolute no, but it's one of these challenges where if you have the right wraparound services, you can do it. But the balance you're also taking is that you're identifying someone as incompetent. So you're legally saying, okay, you are not able to care for yourself in any capacity, so that the government basically has to come in and assume those responsibilities. And then to then go, okay, well, we're just going to leave you in your home after declaring you incompetent. And so it has to be the right situation with the right wraparound services. We actually have somebody right now that we're able to do that, because we're able to wrap around that individual and keep them in their home. But it's not the typical.
Is there a lack of like CNA or in-home workers? Is that part of the problem?
That's some of the challenge. It took us, I'm saying 5-6 months to find an aide that we were able to get for one of the ones that we have. So, I mean, it's difficult because even the aid services, they're having trouble finding quality staff and maintaining staff. And a lot of times these agencies are not located necessarily in our own county. So they're in other counties away. And so sometimes it's difficult to get someone who's willing to travel. And so there's a kind of just a whole basket worth of challenges that we're dealing with. Any other question on this?
I have one about heating systems, but I don't know if that. Sean, please. I know me and Lisa were talking the other day about the price of fuel and filling up our barrel and all that stuff. And I told her essentially it'll cost us 3 times as much as it cost us last year, to fill up our barrel. She made this offhanded comment like, that oil lasted us a long time. And I said, yeah, but it will cost us 3 times as much this year. Are we hearing anything from the state regarding oil assistance? I don't imagine that it's a certain amount of dollars. It's not a certain amount of fuel, correct? So I'm not imagining that that's gonna go very far this year. And do they typically, adjust it on years that fuel was astronomical, for lack of a better word? So, sorry, I didn't mean to throw the curveball. Just seems like it's gonna be a huge hurdle for people going into the winter. It's gonna change. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's gonna sneak up. I think it's gonna sneak up on people faster than they're ready for.
Last time we met, I told you we were gonna move some money around within our budget and do a balance amendment. We did that to cover some of our expenditures where we were over, in particular gas and oil. But we were able to move that around within our budget and do it in a balanced amendment. So we're coming in looking pretty good. We're at 11 months now into the fiscal year as far as our expenditures go. We should be at 91.3% in cost. We're at 82.4% all programs. So that's about 8.9% below cost of where we should. So that's good. In our revenue, we're got posted revenues up until March. Again, we're always running a few months behind because of the reimbursement system. We should be at around 74.9%, but we're running a little less than that at 3.3% less. So we're at 71.5% in reimbursement and revenue for all programs. But again, I fully expect that to come real close to the mark, what we budgeted, because those reimbursements come in late. Right now, we've got $133,000 unposted revenue for April. I also was able to go to the Western Regional meeting in Nashville that Wendy went to, and fiscal officers got together for each county for that region, for the Western region. And we were able to compare notes, network, help each other. And as we were doing that and comparing notes, it looks like our county's pretty on point. We've worked really hard and trained. And, so we've got some new people that we're helping and networking together. But I'm proud of the work that we've done so far fiscally and in other areas. And it's always beneficial when we collaborate together with the other personnel in the state. So that's some good feedback. The fiscal, the LBLs that we met with will give us guidelines and places to check to see where we are as a county, and we're meeting those benchmarks. So
Maybe that fourth column over, the net budget amendments. I guess, the revenue page just looks like we had some extra revenue come in. If you flip it over to the expenditures, I guess the negative expenditures are money that we were able to reduce in the budget. Am I reading that correct? So that
give me an example of what you're looking
So like salaries, it has negative 65,000. Did we save that, or were we under? Did we under budget? Yeah, I'm sorry.
So that was where we took those positions out.
So that was, those are ever negative is a savings.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Because that's an expenditure, so we're definitely taking that out of what we originally budgeted.
It looks like we've done a pretty good job. For the most part, budgeting there.
So we saved over 7,000 in retirement contributions.
Yes.
for several positions that left vacant.
Yes. And where we took those, that's where she did where she took the Christmas bonus out for those staff, the FICA match, the retirement match, and the hospital insurance that, and go on further down as you go, those negative numbers are where we took those staff out. That help?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for any of those folks? There are no items for discussion tonight. I don't believe there's a need for a closed session I'm aware of. Board comments, Commissioner Hardy.
Job, ladies and gentlemen. I want to leave you out, Sean.
Commissioner Grindstaff.
Thank you all for your hard work. Appreciate you folks.
Commissioner Pittman. Commissioner Masters. I'll just say, Sean makes a really good hot dog and hamburgers. And also. He was the grill master at the Foster Care. I appreciate you guys, that was a lot of work. And I appreciate you guys taking time to do that on Saturday. I thought it was a very successful event. Thank you. I'll entertain we adjourn.
Maggie, that was the DSS meeting.